Hi everyone and welcome to fan commentary on Shane's Karma Part 1. This is my favorite episode from Power Rangers Ninja Storm, mainly because it's a Shane focus episode, which I thought was really well done because it's not a traditional PR episode. The only time we ever had something similar was the Great Bukala escape back in MMPR Season 2 with Billy. It was such a different departure from the original Hurricanger episode that it was based off, which I understand why they couldn't use it. That was the final ending of the arc where the Gorigers were suffering from the venoms and they were dying. So that was the reason why they couldn't really do it. So they went into this original direction in order to introduce us to the battlizer, which the battlizer is really important to the series and it never really gets featured that much until now. Yeah, when they first introduced it with In Space and Andros, it was just like there, and the little girl just released it, and it felt very dumb. While this one has a personal growth to all the characters. Sensei has never gone away for the entire time of the show until this point, and he obviously trusts him at this point. They'll always make sure to double check things, keep themselves on alert, even though they're on vacation and taking break. And Shane also, takes, dreams and other things more serious. Now imagine if you had seen the Rangers when they first started off. They wouldn't have acted like that. They would have acted dumb and taken advantage of taking a break. Now, I will agree with people who don't like the comedy in Ninja Storm. This particular episode, Mara and Capri are really annoying and they don't serve any good purpose because, again, this episode is very different in the Hurricanger footage, so a lot of the characters didn't really have anything to do. I also like this because it's more personal because we actually can get to see the cast. They're always training, and that's the reason why they've gotten better. I also love how Dustin is written in the series. He always hits his comedy beats right. He knows how to deliver it, how just use that little bit of funny and it works really well, which is unfortunate because Mara and Capri can be really good comedy characters, but half the time they end up, missing that mark or they're just in the way of the story. I will nitpick in saying how does she get stuck inside a simple little spider web. I think this is the only time we ever see Shane's house, apartment. Also, I always wondered, like, how did Vexicus lose her? Why didn't Vexicus stay on Earth and exploit it? It's just they come to Earth and they disappear. There's like a whole big backstory that they could explore with that, which is cool because I like when they introduce aliens, more new aliens that come in. They could make a Ranger based off her species. The reason why I think I like this episode more than the Eye of the Storm with Shane's brother, because both episodes are really good Shane episodes because they just explore his, like, how does he work? Because all as we know, Shayla probably was what motivated him to become a Ninja Storm Ranger in the future. He wanted to help people. I just like how they explore characters, even though it's very small things. Also, I say Shayla is the better ball of light. Now, Vexicus is the character itself is very similar to its original Japanese counterpart. They are very serious characters, and he's the one who, you know, got almost all the Rangers killed. That was the main arc. I also love that he's voiced by Michael Hurst, which he's, Aeolus in Hercules, if you were a fan of that series. And I think it's a great casting choice. Michael Hurst is very good at making evil voices, menacing voices, and also knows how to throw out some comedy because that's what Hercules did. And I will say that Ninja Storm's introduction of Vexicus is a lot better than what they did with Sandaru, the Hurricanger season, because he came in and he was, cool, menacing, and he did a lot of crazy stuff. It's just that, and then he kind of got dropped later in the season. While Vexicus was kept going and he was more personally linked to Shane. Now, this actual footage on the TV is from a Hurricanger episode. This is probably like the dumbest moment that Mara and Capri have. Although I do like the detail that they actually made a DVD with this, aerobics nonsense. It's just because the comedy that these two do is really not fitting. It's stupid, random nonsense. I think this also showcases how the original Ninja Storm team is a little bit more mature than the Thunder team because they like to relax, but it shows the reason why the Ninja Storm Rangers beat Lothor at the end of the series. The only thing I regret is that Shayla didn't stick around in the series for the remainder of the time. It's like I didn't expect her like to become a ranger or anything like that. It's a shame because you could see that there's some nice chemistry between the two characters, actors, and it would have been interesting if she was brought on as a last minute addition, which maybe they had thought about because it's possible that they could have used her in the sense of using the elements from Hurricanger because their main leader, she could have kind of replaced that because she had a lot of magical abilities and stuff where, Shayla has very similar abilities too, which they could have worked in as well. It's a shame, really, but then again, I may have not have liked this episode as much if Shayla hadn't died and passed on her powers to Shane in part 2. It's what made it more powerful to me because Power Rangers doesn't like to go in these directions where a character will die. Although I will kind of complain here. Why didn't Cybercam see the cloak decloak ship? Because he just popped in right away. And obviously the area is monitored. So how did they not know that there was an alien ship that, landed or not? I wish we got more Cybercam in the show. I always found it cool because, Cam is just very serious by the book and he really doesn't have any, fun bits, while Cybercam is the opposite. This entire season is really good with dual role characters. Now, this shirt that Cam is wearing, Toby will actually wear in Mystic Force when he comes back from getting wet in one of the episodes. They're always running amok. There's really no difference between now and any other time. They always do stupid things. And, this is the type of stuff that gets a lot of people annoyed at these characters. See, what it makes it worse is that Mara and Capri hold down Lothar because Lothar he's funny, but he's serious. And even the other characters are funny, serious. But when you have Mara and Capri, it makes everyone feel like they're more stupider, it's more annoying, so then you hate everyone. They really didn't have any footage they could use from Hurricanger, but it's like they didn't even want to follow the characters from Hurricanger at all because those characters are funny too, but they're not overly like ridiculous. They're serious too. They just didn't want to go in that direction. I always wondered what happened here. Obviously, this is a fireplace from a house that must have burned down. That's interesting because Shayla obviously has a specific life cycle, kind of like maybe like a butterfly. In that sense, they only live for so many years, and it's probably been like what, maybe 10 years? And she knew, like, well, who do I give my power to? And she obviously knew Shane as a kid and, had that I can trust him, while Vexicus has always been trying to take her power. It's an interesting life cycle because it must mean this species must only last maybe a decade. I like that little bit of extra acting because she's like confused because it shows that her like alien side is like, huh? That's why I wish they had continued and explored this type of story. But then again, because she has so much power and all these abilities, it would become a really big plot hole or issues. Now, this scene I do like of Mara and Capri. The one thing I hated though, they have never have a problem when they say, "Oh, move the dead flowers," and it's just like, well, why didn't you say move the destroyed flowers? But when it comes to flowers or plants in general, Power Rangers can say the word dead all they want, but when it comes to people, no. Now, in the original Hurricanger episode, Sergain was actually building, more mechas that copy each of the abilities of the Sempujin, which is the reason why he got lightning mode slash hurry up. And the main reason why the Thunder Zords were disabled is mainly because, again, right now, Hurricane Red and the Go Rangers are completely preoccupied with their sickness and them slowly dying, and Red is trying to help them out, and that's the reason why they're currently not in the footage. The one thing, though, I never really liked, because if you pay attention to the Japanese footage, Zergain is much more competent than compared to whenever we see him in US footage, which is that disconnect. It's not as bad as Elgar. Elgar is way worse, but you can still feel that like he's way more intelligent in the Japanese footage. Also, his lightning mode doesn't have a time limit restriction. He actually shows that off in the Japanese footage. I never like that whenever monsters do those, rebounds off buildings. That never makes any sense. I will say one thing that's a negative to the episode is that you can feel where they had to stretch things out, which is kind of unfortunate. It didn't feel like there's a balance between mystery, progress. It's because again they were dealing with the Japanese footage that they couldn't really use, and there was very little material they can use in the Zord fight, and all the other Rangers are preoccupied in a lot of stuff they had to film. So there's a lot of mostly talking and sidestepping, and that's the reason why Mara and Capri were injected, which doesn't really work in those scenes. I wish they had stuck with Shane and Shayla more in part one and focused on her background. That way, the Mara Capri stuff could have been reduced even further and just had them here and one other scene. That's really the only big issue with this episode. It's just like the Rangers don't really get much to do. They're just like here a little bit, there a little bit. Of course, Hurricanger is very restrictive on the show because he doesn't really show up all that much unless there's an extreme emergency. In this case, there is. Also, they did miss that, like, we could have also just explored also Vexicus. That's another thing that they really didn't do and they missed on this. Since, we're introducing Vexicus and Shayla, they could have gone also in that direction to show, Vexicus and why he's pursuing her, besides the obvious reason of her power. Maybe his species hated her species. Maybe it was some sort of inner conflict around the galaxy. That they could have used that time to, instead of using Maru and Capri.